Yeah, you've definitely got something going on that I do
It's fine. Here, I'll collapse it. Now it's only one error. Yup. The date is February 8th, 2022, 6 days before Valentine's Day, which has no significance to this devlog, but what is significant is what you just saw is the beginning of a long, painful, and awesome experience. I'm going to do my best to walk you through it. This is the Wall Devlog 1.
You're cruising down. All right, you want to go? He
Be
did
on
something.
my head.
Oh, this is the best part.
Let's start at the very beginning. A really long time ago, I made a friend. Let's call him Ian. Much later, Ian and I decided we would make a game together. We put a lot of time into it, and then gave up because it sucked. Then we decided to make a different game that had a smaller scope, and eventually we decided on The Wall. The idea of the game was simple. You play as a stickman drawn on a piece of paper, running from an ever-approaching wall that's on the left side of the screen. But running with no obstacles is boring, so we decided to have him run through people's houses. But they don't like that you're running through their houses, so they try to kill you. Of course, we had so many more ideas than this, but let's stick with that for now. To start, we needed a stickman, a wall, a basic movement system, and a camera to follow the player. We also added a simple blood particle effect, because we wanted blood to be a theme of the game, and since everything drawn on the paper would be in black and white, the blood adds some color to the scene. Now, some of you might have noticed that the player isn't actually moving his limbs. Well, not anymore. Introducing a rigged stickman, where I can move his limbs in any which way I please. Now I can make him run by animating him with keyframes. While I was doing this, Ian worked on the movement system. By the end of it, we had a running stickman, and we loved it.
Size up.
Boom!
Oh. Are you guys seeing this? Are you? Oh my goodness.
Oh, check this out. No damage.
What? What do you do?
I don't know, man. That's your problem. Next on the list was making something better than these dumb platforms to run on. I drew a house and added a poly collider to it. With the house in place, Ian and I each drew an enemy to add to the game. Ian added some simple behavior to the enemies so that they approach you when you're inside of them, which led to some funny interactions. Oh god, he got me!
Just grabbing your face.
I also made a simple swinging animation so you could swing at them. I was also working on adding some furniture to the house, because empty houses are really boring. I drew a chair and a couch. This all took about 3 weeks to implement, by the way. Game development is slow and challenging, and we're both college students, so it's not like we were working on this every day. But still, the game was looking good, but at this point in our journey, we needed a break. We stopped work on the wall for 10 months. Yeah, I'm not joking. We literally lost motivation and stopped working on it for almost a year. When we decided to pick it back up again, we were as sharp as ever. To start, we had a meeting to discuss things, since it had been a while. Here's a clip from that, where Ian is talking about how to draw houses. Really listen and try to decipher what he's saying here.
So we did have it where there's we have the sprite for the house, and then we have another sprite that's just the house covered with the sprite, but it's just like white, right? And then this sprite could be a sprite mask that's a sprite on top of the house, right?
You're saying the word sprite a lot.
Okay. This house could be the shoot.
Each house would have 3 layers to it, which meant 3 sprites, and the outside of the house would mask the inside until the player entered. All that said, I had to redo the house. I drew a second house as well, just for some more variety. Where's house 2?
I've moved it.
My sprite, my sprite.
I stole it, okay?
But house 1 is in here. Oh! Also, I drew some furniture on a sprite sheet, and gave the furniture colliders so I could place them in the world. Speaking of the world, we wanted it to generate randomly in front of the player. This method of generation is called procedural generation, or procgen for short. Ian worked on that and came up with a clever solution. By adding anchor points to the houses, we could line those points up to create a seamless transition from one house to the next. Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Ow!
Yeah.
Dude, you made it generate? Oh, that's
It generates.
sick.
Oh man.
And it
It's going.
disappears?
Yeah.
Oh
You
my
can't go
god.
backwards though.
He also worked on the movement of the player, which resulted in some funny bugs. What have you done, Ian?
I don't know. I can't walk right either.
It was very important to us to get the movement feeling just right, so a lot of time was spent trying to perfect the system. At this point in the project, it was more or less decided that I would be the artist for most assets, while Ian would focus more on programming. We mixed roles though. Ian would send over concept art for me to draw, and I would send it back to him and ask for feedback. I still programmed, but Ian focused on the harder to solve issues, like movement. Since I was the artist, I devoted some serious time into creating new houses with some outside areas as well. In total, I created 3 houses, 2 tree areas, a street, a pool, and a mansion. For future reference, I'll be calling these chunks instead of houses. In the meantime, Ian fixed all of the problems. Everything is fixed. Ian, no way.
That's such good news.
He worked on movement for a long time, which was actually completely reformatted to work for enemies as well. Then he switched gears to combat and polishing. He also added a very important mechanic, which is entity spawning. Now, instead of placing furniture and enemies into the chunk, we can place a spawner in the chunk and spawn a random entity. This will be used later in the project. While he was doing that, I was working on an even more important mechanic: doors. Making doors is harder than you would think, but I still spent way too much time on them. Once I was done with that, I spent some time polishing the things I had already drawn, since we noticed some things while playtesting.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so good at this. I think at this point in the project, we started to go insane a little bit, which can be seen in the descriptions of the updates we would send each other. All of this progress took 2 months of on and off work, and the reality was setting in. Game development is hard. What we had was awesome, but nothing close to the finished product. Our game wasn't really a game. With all these thoughts lingering in the back of our minds, we took a break to focus on finals for the semester. Then it was time to get serious. Yeah, we don't. There's a penis on it. I forgot about that.
Oh no! Oh no!
Get it, Ian, get it. You can't reach. I'd like to keep the video short, so I'll stop it here. There's still so much content I haven't covered though. I've barely scratched the surface of what we've done so far. All of this progress happened over a year ago, so stay tuned for what comes next.
No!
Yeah. Help! Oh my gosh!
Yeah, there's that one glitch.